'Cause I'm Mr. Statman and I'll never leave you if you are at home for whatever reason. And sometimes it feels like no one's there to help you because you post on the discussion board and you don't get any response. Let's talk about 5 things to do and not to do that will help you get better responses. For starters, include the question that you're working with. I don't mean I'm working on question 7, but what numbers did you have? Everybody has randomized different values. If we can see your actual numbers and the response you're getting, it's easier to say, oh, you've confused the sum with the mean, or give you more specific feedback. It won't surprise you that the first thing to not do is be really vague. I see questions like this all the time. Can someone help you with what? Is it the equation? You don't know how to put it in your calculator.
What? I can't understand you. You know what?
The more specific you can be as to what you have done and where you're stuck, the easier it's going to be for somebody to be able to look at what you've done and where you went off. So if you can include your work, here's what I have, here's how I got my answer. Oh, it looks like you forgot to sort the data first before you find the median. Now you can get more targeted help because we can see what you have and what you did. But don't forget the question mark. Be clear what you're asking. I found a variance and a mean. There's standard deviation. Is there a question here? I don't know how to respond, and nobody else does either. Where are you stuck? What part are you struggling with? If you don't put in that actual question, no one knows how to help you. And if you ask a question, and maybe you get some answers, but it still isn't quite making sense, keep asking. Go ahead and say the question again. Try using a little bit different wording. As different people chime in, and sometimes that includes me, somebody will say it in a way that clicks for you. In fact, frequently I'll look at discussion posts and I'll be like, oh, students have given a great answer. That's fantastic. But if I see a lot of people are still struggling, I'll be like, oh, okay, here's the wording I would use. Not that the other answers were wrong, just the different ways people talk about it can be very helpful. So it's okay to keep asking and saying, I'm still struggling. Can I get more help, or can people use more words? For that reason, it's really tough if you're doing the homework right at the end of the deadline, which consistently about a third of the class does, no matter when I set the deadline. You can't tell me that was the best time to do the homework. You're just waiting until the last minute.
What kept you?
And so you hurry and post something. Most people are done. They've moved on to whatever is coming next. People aren't up that late at night. You're going to have a hard time getting answers to the stuff that you're hoping someone will be able to answer. So be patient. It can take a while. To be fair, I have had students say, hey, I posted this a day, even 2 days ago, and no one's been able to give me a good response. I'll be like, oh, thanks. I appreciate the heads up. I can go in and answer that post so that people can have help, especially if a lot of people are struggling. But you want to do it earlier than the deadline because it might take a couple of posts and you might want to respond and say, I'm still struggling. That doesn't happen in the last 5 minutes before the deadline. One interesting tip that will help you get answers you want is if you're on there giving answers to other people's questions. Is someone asking you about a question you've already done? Go in there and say, here's how I did it. How does that help you? 2 reasons. One is it creates an atmosphere where everybody's answering questions back and forth and you're helping them this time, they might be helping you next time. Even surprisingly more important, as you answer people's questions, the patterns in this class start to fit, and you'll see that there's an awful lot that is following the same pattern as other stuff we've done before. As you answer earlier questions, things you face later on start to make more sense. And I really notice when there's students on there that are answering people's questions, doing a great job, and I appreciate it, and I'm like, wow, they're doing really good. Because this class feels more like a foreign language, the more you speak the language of science and statistics, the more data science is going to start to fit and you're going to understand stuff better. Also, for the same reasons, if you post in the funny random section, people start talking, there's community, socialization, and it's easier to learn statistics. Even if it's stuff like, what movies have you seen recently, or share a good meme, whatever it is, the funny random section fosters that communication, and it does help people to learn. Make sure that if you're asking about question 3, find the thread that's already there for question 3 and post your question in there. Number 1, you might see somebody's already answered the question you want to ask, And for people working on this question later, it's nice to have everybody's questions and answers all in the same thread. Now, it's okay to start a thread on the homework in general or some overall topic, or the funny random section, start all those threads. But if it's a question about a specific homework problem, you'll notice the discussion board has question 1, question 2, question 3 already as part of it, and you can go in there and say, this question I'm struggling with, and it's all together in one piece.